so grateful that there aren't any dragons in the Game of Thrones guys' new movies. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get on a church with a mandate to get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you, right, Gina Graham?
That's right.
Handball, Brian. I ball up my fist and I teach you. Speaking of teaching, that was interesting because that's something I wanted to talk about today. I was dropping my daughter off. My son walks to school, and my daughter needs to be driven to school, which is the exact same amount of work for the parent who has to get up and drive one person.
Might as well take both.
Yeah, might as well drive 10 people.
Especially if you own a four-door. But that's how it works.
Yeah.
And also, the claim is always, I don't want to get sweaty. But my neighborhood, it was 53 degrees outside, and you're walking.
Yeah.
I don't know. You
Not
really
a lot of flop sweat.
You really mopping that brow?
Unless is she sprinting?
Well, she is always late, so maybe she'd have to break into a run. But anyway, as I was pulling up, I was saying, what's going on with the masks now? Because L.A., California dropped their mask mandate, outdoor mask mandate today. But L.A. County is keeping it in place. But is that in place for everyone, or is that in place for schools? I know the schools are perpetually in place. Right. And I was trying to figure that one out, and she put her mask on and climbed out of the car, and then I watched the adult the parking lot supervisor, principal, or whoever he was, just standing out on the sidewalk alone with a mask directing traffic. And then I thought to myself, what are schools for? Are we trying to learn? Are we trying to learn shit, or are we superstitious fucking gypsies from a different era? Because we want to learn shit. Well, we can teach history and civics and social studies, but there's a teachable moment here.
Yeah.
Masks don't work outside, and they're totally unnecessary, and you won't let kids go in the cafeteria, and they got to sit 6 foot apart on a fucking bench during a rainstorm when it's freezing outside. What are we learning? There's some learning that could go on here. We could be talking about vitamin D or exercise or sunshine or what kind of masks work. Not any of the ones any of the people were wearing in the parking lot. Those are still the paper masks.
Those are the bedazzled ones.
The decorative ones, maybe not
are
effective.
We sort of learning to be sheep, or are we learning about science? And this would be a good time to talk about wiping down fast food deliveries before you brought them in the house, or wearing paper masks outside or even inside, or therapeutics or health or weight or vitamin D. There could be some learning going on, but there really isn't learning going on. It's weird, superstitious, follow the herd
repetition.
Repetition that we're learning. Also, we could be asking questions like, well, if we drop the mask mandate for arenas or football games or restaurants, then are we still needing to wear? Why school?
Right.
What percentage of kids are being harmed versus what's the average age of the person that attended the Super Bowl? 41 and a half. Average age of the kid at this school, 14 and a half. Much less vulnerable. Like, could we get some numbers, some stats? Could we do some fucking learning?
An evidence-based approach would be nice, refreshing.
We could learn something.
Yeah.
Well, they've learned to be scared.
Well,
and more importantly, they have learned, the most important thing they've learned is through social media and pressure and peer pressure, they will get the shit beat out of them if they go against whichever prevailing direction the winds are blowing, and they're blowing one direction.
Right. And
that's what they've learned. They've learned to shut up and do shit that doesn't make sense. That's what they're learning.
But that's good. That's good in a school system. They are learning that they should shut up and follow the rules, which is very good for authorities at school.
Yeah. Well, schools teach you to be prompt, or, to do your homework, or to get along with others, or whatever. Yeah. But I would like it to be, as Brian says, a little more science-based. From the people who never stop talking about following the science.
Let's get the science teacher involved.
Well, Yes.
What's funny is, like Gina alluded to, high school hasn't changed. It's just what's being taught. It's like quiet down, stand in line, wait for this, raise your hand.
Yep.
All the sort of
follow blindly.
All the sort of beat you down into submission. But now it's being done via masks and not via the old way that we're all used to. It's the same. It's the same. Subjugation. You're the kid with the adult shut up and listen to us.
But I would argue that when I was being beaten into submission.
In your day, in your way.
I mean, we all did.
It did live in some reality. Like the teacher was talking and I was popping off in the back of the class,
Ray was
interrupting
farting.
them. And Ray was walking to the front of the line to register while everyone else had been waiting in line, and he was being taught, although he never got taught. He walked to the front of the long line on a Saturday when everyone had to go for their classes. Because you remember that? Everyone,
sign up
that's
in
how you
person.
sign up.
yes, everyone
Fill
wants
out a card.
An
you
exciting
want
day.
Mr. Bernal for history,
Right.
not Mr. Saponzi. That
Right.
guy's a douche. You know what I mean? So if you get there early, sign up for Mr. Bernal's class. Ray didn't show up early. He motored all the way to the front of the line. And then when Mr. Smith, there were two Mr. Smiths. One was the bad Mr.
don't
Smith.
get the
The other
bad
was
one.
the good one. I had the bad one as my coach for a B football team. And then I got Mr. Gregory instead of the good Mr. Smith for driver's ed. So roll the dice, snake eyes there. Ray motored to the front of the line. Bad Mr. Smith yelled at him.
Well, he's
said-
bad. He's bad.
He said, he was right. He said to Ray, go to the back of the line, old hopper. And Ray went, I think I'll go to the beach. And then Mr. Smith went, all right, well, you're not getting any of your classes.
Yeah.
And then Ray just looked at him and he went, we'll see. And he went to the beach and he didn't sign up for any classes. And then the next Monday he showed up and he waltzed into Mr. Hansen's office, his counselor. And he basically got him into a headlock until he gave him all his classes. Lesson learned. A very valuable lesson was
set
learned
a good
that day.
foundation for the rest of his life.
Holy shit.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he didn't get money. He just went, he just walked
He
in and went,
bullied him.
hey, and Mr. Hansen, you know I need Mr. Bernal. And he'd be like, they're already up 31. Make it 32
Yeah,
or
what's one more?
kick Johnny
You don't know they're
Whitaker's
gonna be
gay
there
ass
half
out
the
of
time.
there. Yeah, come on.
Wow.
And he just got all his shit penciled in.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I'd love 11% more of that in my personality.
It is a great strategy if you plan on never seeing your 22nd birthday. The problem is it carries on into your 50s
Right.
Yeah.
and then it becomes problematic,
Right.
as
Cement
the kids
hardens.
would say.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not that, but close, because I was watching, I don't know why, I think it was, pretty sure it was over COVID, when I was home, Clueless came on TV.
Great
And you
movie.
know there's movies or moments in movies, you don't quite realize what they mean until you realize you're an adult or whatever it is. And it was the moment where Cher, Alicia Silverstone got her report card, and it was full of, C's or whatever, and their dad, Dan Hedaya, great role.
Yeah.
He's like, Cher, what is this? And she's like, oh, it's not ready yet. Oh, where's your report card? And she's like, it's not ready yet, Daddy. He's like, what do you mean it's not ready? Well, I have to negotiate. She negotiated her way up to like better grades for all of her teachers, like basically convinced them to give her a slightly better grade. And when she brought the report card home to Dan Hedaya, he was like, what is this? He's like, my new report card. He's like, are these you got your teacher to take you from a C+ to an A-? It's like, yeah. Baby, I couldn't be more proud of it than if they were based on real grades.
Right.
And it's like, yeah, I kind of get it. In the real world, I'd rather have a good negotiator for a daughter than someone who can get, an A-.
Well, that
a
was
great
my
skill.
learning experience. Now, I talked to Dr. Drew moments ago, and I was like, did we drop the mask mandate in LA County? And he's like, I have no goddamn idea
knows.
anymore.
There's no way to know.
Is it outdoors? Is it just for schools and prisoners?
I have the date February 28th in my head. Something is going until February 28th.
I had the
February
15th.
15th.
Yeah, was
That's
what Dawson may know something. Did we figure it out?
Yeah, what I do know is that the LA Times is completely lost on this as well, because this is a totally unclear article from them. It's incredibly difficult to understand.
But the headline, the LA Times headline is California school mask mandate will stay through February 28th.
The one I have says, LA County lifts outdoor mask mandate.
All right.
But not for kids.
Both can be true. I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, but that doesn't really matter because people aren't wearing masks outdoors anyway, right?
We all
Or
figured that out.
or they are. I've walked around this neighborhood 20 minutes ago, saw 2 solo people get out of their car. Sun is shining, beautiful day, and both of them were walking down the sidewalk, not as a couple, just separate people, masked up. So
I've seen that
for
too.
those people, I don't think it's going to make a difference. For me and Mike August, it's not going to make a difference either way.
It's the swath
I don't know
in the
what
middle.
percentage is going to make a difference to, but for some reason, schools are still different than other places.
They'll reassess on the 28th.
Well, when we get to schools, Los Angeles County relaxed its outdoor masking mandates. Says that people can go without face coverings outdoors at K through 12, including transitional kindergarten schools and childcare facilities, and in exterior areas of mega events. The Hollywood Bowl, Dodger Stadium, SoFi Stadium, and Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum. Then it goes on to say, the Los Angeles School District will keep its outdoor mask mandate in place.
Oh, good.
And LA Unified is going to keep it in place, and the district will consult with expert advisors. I don't know who these people
Ferrer.
are.
Oh, no.
Later this week to discuss if it's appropriate. Yeah, we have a doom and gloom
As you
Barbara
get
Ferrer
further,
clip to play for you guys.
As
Yeah.
you get further into the article, Barbara Ferrer does say that the metrics were very encouraged
Is
by
she
the
a
metrics.
She's not a virologist.
No, she's not a doctor.
sociologist.
She's a sociologist. She's
Why
not an
do we
MD.
want? Why is she in charge? Why don't we have a power panel of doctors who
She's
are
a BSD.
virologists? Why her? Calling the shots for little old LA County?
I did hear one theory. You know, she says that as soon as transmissions fall below 2,500, hospital admissions fall below 2,500 people for 7 consecutive days. Well, we're already almost there. It'd fallen to 1835, last count as of Tuesday. If it stays there for 1 week, then she'll
We can lift the
consider
thing that doesn't do anything.
more of the outdoor
She'll
mask
consider.
mandate.
Oh, God.
Now, someone did say that she's already seen these numbers. She sees this coming, and she's preparing her, I'm going to get the hell out of this. And she does say later in this article that she believes that mid-March is when we can get back to normal.
Get back to normal.
Yeah.
We can never get back to normal as long as she's in charge of policy.
You talk about winners and losers of COVID. Barbara Ferrer, big loser. Like, I mean, in the sense that no one had any idea who she was. She was skated to probably however many more terms, and now the light exposed her a little bit.
Yeah,
The
we have
attention.
a clip. Now here's what I want to tell everyone about anyone who speaks about anything. If they say, we're not ready to drop this mandate or we're not ready to impose that, that's fine. If they then do that move where they go, I'm not willing to stop caring about the death of innocence, when they couch it that way, then you no longer have to listen to them. So when they do a thing, if they do a thing where they go, I understand people want to do this, but I'd like to do that because it's dangerous. But when you do the other side, the argument is, I'm against kids wearing masks because I'm for death of kids.
You're a monster.
Or I don't care.
Right.
Then I no longer have to listen to you because now we're getting into ad hominem stuff. And when you have an argument, you don't get into that
You're
stuff.
making a third argument that can't be countered. It's like,
Right.
I don't like kids to die. It's like,
Yeah.
what do you think I do?
Also, when you inflate, you're also de facto inflating your own status because
Right.
you're the hero who does care about
Excuse
kids.
me, but
Well,
I don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're implying that people that disagree with you do want the
Yes.
kids to
Right.
die.
Exactly.
Here's her 20 seconds of her from 3 or 4 days ago.
I think we care deeply here in LA
deeply.
County about morbidity and mortality. I don't think we're ready to just sort of say, people just die and that's just how it is. I think we're
Okay,
gonna
hold
do
on. Nobody says people just die. That's how it is.
Those are our only options?
She shouldn't be in charge of anything. She shouldn't be in charge. That's the deal. If you're going to talk this way, then no policy. We'll put you in charge of a fucking mattress store in Reseda. And Rochelle Walensky, when you do the as a mom, I'm scared. No, that's not your position here. We didn't hire you because you shit out a couple of kids and you're scared. You're in a position of authority. We're not interested in side personal feelings that you're having, hero. She's not willing to just play it again. It drives me nuts. There's way too much of this. There's way too much of this in policy. It should have nothing to do with policy. The policy should always just be about numbers, stats, and blah, blah. Go ahead.
I think we care deeply here.
That's wrong
in LA
already.
County,
Who gives a fuck what we care about?
Morbidity and mortality. I don't think we're ready to just sort of say, people just die and that's just how it is. I think we're going to do our very best to continue to work hard to prevent as much transmission as we can until these rates get lower, where transmission just isn't going to be as likely, where people are spending a lot of time together indoors.
But we got double vaxxed and boosted.
Right. All right. Anyway, we can't do this again, people. We can't put a bunch of fucking non-elected fucking retards in charge of everything and they just move forward. This is fucking Los Angeles. It's huge. It's the second biggest economy in the world, or seventh in the world, or whatever it is, second biggest populace. It's big. It's important. It's important. There's a lot of stuff going on here. We can't have unelected crackpots just moving the baton, and then we're all in the band of retards playing along for 2 fucking years. We can't do it anymore. Get a fucking panel get one sociologist in the panel, and then get 3 biologists, and get 3 guys who work on vaccines, and just put a little panel together, tribunal, and let them figure out what the best plan is.
Yeah. And on a side note, I was listening to this morning, and I thought, oh, God damn it. Adam strikes again, a year and a half early. Guess what all of the major news podcasts, or at least all the ones I've been listening to the last week, are all about? New studies show that the closures of schools and all this stuff have had incredible effects on the children. Oh my God, looking back, the children are overweight, they're despondent,
How about the parents?
They're dying, they're suicidal, they're mentally ill. Oh my God, looking backwards.
Right.
When was this being shouted about on the show?
I've always, we should have never shut schools. We should have never done it. Okay. Anyway.
Well, Barbara Ferrer should probably stick to her day job of fucking rocking and rolling. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right.
Sorry, that was Kaylin's cue to put up. There it is.
Yeah.
It's Brian May.
But he is a scientist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like an astrophysicist or something. Yeah.
Yes, he is.
He'd be. I'd
bona fide scientist.
Immediate motion. Have Brian May installed as the LA County Health Director.
Or she should just go back to the fucking future. But yes, I'd rather have Queen's lead guitarist Brian May in charge of health protocol in the city, any city.
Now that I know that he's a scientist, I'm actually all for it.
All right. Then there was an article. I didn't read the whole article. I just read the headline, but somebody tweeted it to me, which is, turns out vitamin D. It's a good thing for COVID. Oh. Something we should have.
I thought you just edited a good thing. I'm
it's
like,
a Bobby Hollander
news. But good thing. Probably shouldn't have shut down the beaches, considering people could pick up a lot of vitamin D,
natural
or the playgrounds for the kids, But
I'm sure there are other factors, but COVID dipped right in the summertime when the weather was warm, right?
Yeah,
people there's outside,
fresh air, vitamin D.
Yeah, there's other factors.
Of course, there's other factors,
but
ignored.
Yeah. All right. Sorry, you have that, Dawson?
Yeah, people with vitamin D deficiency are more likely to have a severe or critical case of COVID-19, according to a new study. The study was based on data from Israel's first 2 coronavirus waves before vaccines were widely available. Scientists stress that vitamin supplements aren't a substitute for vaccines, but they can help immunity levels. Found it remarkable and striking to see the difference in the chances of becoming a severe patient when you are lacking vitamin D compared to when you're not. The study was conducted before the Omicron variant. Vitamin D helps people with COVID infections as a result of its effectiveness in bolstering the immune system to deal with viral pathogens.
All right.
So get outside. By the way, vitamin D, and when you're
Close the beaches.
When you're getting the vitamin D, you're getting the exercise as well.
Right.
A little rollerblading, little paddling in the bay, whatever it may be. You're outdoors, you're moving. So shutting down the horse trails and the parks and the beaches. Probably not a great plan.
This part's interesting. The differences still applied after researchers controlled for the patient's age, gender, and history of chronic diseases. So across the board, vitamin D, sunshine.
Excuse me, counterpoint. Here's an article here from the Montreal Gazette. The headline says, "Does vitamin D protect against COVID? Seems not." From the Montreal Gazette, your favorite place.
Well, they love COVID, so they don't want any end in sight to this. Yeah. Well, I would see, here's the thing, vitamin D, zinc, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin. I'll file it all under the couldn't hurt. It's all in the couldn't hurt department. So if people want to take it or try it or apply it, then let them do it because it can't hurt. Why are we trying to talk people out of sunshine?
Yeah, and like you've said so many times now, when did vitamin supplements become a right-wing conspiracy theory? It's the hippiest, dippiest movement of all time. We've been pushing for zinc to alleviate cold symptoms for how many years? Everyone needs vitamin D, zinc. I mean, my head is spinning. I'm confused.
I think there's going to, I think when we step back a little, not big conspiracy theorists, but I think we're going to see some big pharma stuff.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. Look, I've always been a fan of big pharma, but it's hard to really defend big anything. You know what I mean? You know, it's like I like the military. I like the U.S. military, but there's plenty of examples of going, here's what they're doing.
Right.
But what about?
Right.
And you're talking in terms of policy setting for these things?
Well, I mean, let's just really just step back. You know, big pharma's in the business. It's got the word farm in it, not friends. Farm. It's not called Big Frenza. It's called Big Pharma.
Factory Frenza.
Farms make money.
Don't fool yourself.
Well, look, their business, they multi-cajillion worldwide, shareholders.
Oh, yeah, you don't have to convince us of
they're
that.
as big as they get.
Yeah.
Okay, it's as big a business as you get. I don't know, it's bigger than the military-industrial complex. It's big.
Yeah.
Or on that scale. There are things that are out there, such as ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine or whatever. That stuff's all past. There's generics of it's 80 cents a pill or it's 50 cents a pill. I mean, there's not a lot of markup on a lot of this other stuff, right? There's potentially big markup on vaccines. Okay, all right, your business. And so someone is going, well, let's try these other things that make you no money really whatsoever and don't have much of a margin on it profit-wise and see if they work. Now, if it's just your business, you go, no, those don't work. Wait for us to get the vax. Well, you get paid for that. Whereas the other one, you don't get paid. So it strikes me, knowing how businesses run, big anything, that they would have thoughts about, they wouldn't certainly endorse or get behind or push something that made them no money versus something that's going to make them billions of dollars. So it sort of makes sense that folks in Big Pharma or on the side of Big Pharma or who lobbied for Big Pharma would not be advocates of therapeutics
I'm
or
sure
talking
we've seen
a lot.
That example
yes, a million
times
with everything.
Self-evident.
Talking about, exercise and diet and sunshine, all this stuff that's free is not stuff that they get paid on.
Right.
And so, and then this sort of crazed push for vaccines, and then a kind of crazed overselling of them. Like, here's what it's going to do. Get the vax, end this thing tomorrow, take the mask off. You can get it. You can't get it. But, there's a couple of breakthrough cases, but you're not going to be able to get it. You get, you can get it. Okay, well, you can get it, but you can't spread it. Well, you can spread it. Like, just think about the arc of the promise of vaccines. And then think about the just out-and-out attack on anything that would fall under the heading of a therapeutic and how it was poison, it could hurt you, it's for horses. You know what I mean? It seems like, I don't want to, I don't say a bunch of guys smoking cigars got in one room and made a decision, but I will say there was a concerted attack against the free shit and a huge overselling of the stuff they got paid on. And I think when a few years goes by and the dust settles and people take a look at this, I think they're going to find some evidence that suggests that, or why I would be surprised if they didn't, because that's what big pharma and big coal and big military, that's what they all do.
That doesn't seem like a conspiracy.
I was going to say it's such common sense that I don't even think there's going to be much of a controversy. I don't think they'd be secret about it. It's we spent a lot of money on this, and we're going to make a lot of money on it. We're going to promote it.
And it's not that it's either, knock on wood, that it's fucking thalidomide or something and it's gonna fuck us all up. It does seem to improve, it does seem to help, it does seem to put the the odds in your favor. I personally think that it's a patriotic thing to do, let's get this.
Get your freedom shot. Get your Trump freedom shot.
Well, that was the whole point. Like, that's at least what we thought was going to happen. The idea is patriotic. Let's all get vaccinated. Let's all fucking move on from this. But I don't think anyone's going to disagree with the fact that, like, Big Pharma always has something to say and will absolutely control the conversation.
No, I think the conspiracy part of it is when they start looking into what senators and government and possibly Fauci and AOC, not AOC, CDC and WHO, when they start kind of looking into what their part was, these sort of nonpartisan experts, that were there for the health. I think
we're selling it to other countries.
They're going to find some paper trails there. But speaking of AOC, I was roundly abused a week ago for calling her a dipshit, essentially. I said no one would listen to her if she was 60 and fat, which I stand by. And I
thought we were going to get an apology.
I got beaten up, and it hurt my feelings.
Oh.
But in the dipshit department, I'll play you her latest 30-second clip, and you tell me. First things first. The recent rash of crazy homeless people stabbing people, not a good thing. But as I was thinking about it, scary, because traditional crime is you got a gun and you want my wallet. Well, we can negotiate.
You can dance.
You may shoot me, but I can provide a wallet, and that may be all you wanted out of this exchange.
Right.
Purely transactional.
And theoretically, you didn't want to kill me, because if you got caught, that would be much worse than if you just got caught with the wallet versus my corpse, right? And if you want to break into my house, we have sort of the same deal.
Yes, take what you want,
just
leave us alone.
want my stuff.
Take the earrings.
Yeah.
Right.
And my wife's stuff.
And when you carjack me, that's another sort of exchange.
Right.
Now, the scariest component of life to the populace is the serial killer. Because a serial killer just kills people. That's what's in it for them.
Unmotivated and random.
Doesn't matter if you got your wallet on you or some diamond earrings, or you're behind the wheel of your Range Rover.
Are you a brunette and alone?
You're still getting killed.
Good enough,
Right.
And Lover's Point.
Right.
What's going on now, which is kind of scary, is crazy homeless people who now Drew says are all getting methed up now, and
fentanyled up.
Yeah, they switch into meth.
Oh, back to basics.
There's an adage from the 70s, I think it's called speed kills, and it means you kill people when you're high on speed. There's many, many cases of you going into that delusional whatever state and you're killing. So now you got homeless people, and the homeless people need weapons, because if you live on the street, you got to have a knife or somewhere. It's a lot of street justice going on out there. And now you're beaked up on speed, and now you're sort of wandering around the city. Now, this is, to me, kind of a serial killer situation, except for times 1,000, and just kind of wandering around, and they could push you onto the subway train tracks or just stab you at your store on Melrose, or latest one, some homeless guy in New York just followed some Asian chick into her apartment, stabbed her 40 times. Very crazy and scary. But his motivation was no motivation.
Right.
He didn't want to rob her. He just wanted to kill her because he's crazy and he's got a weapon and he's on the street. So did you hear about that whole story with the Asian woman? No, it was horrible. She, I don't know, Chris can find it, but it's a 35-year-old Asian woman. Like, it's everyone's nightmare. You walk back to your apartment, a guy follows you, go through the security guard, he jumps through it, just before it shuts, follows you into your apartment and stabs you 40 times for zero reasons. Jesus. And this has got everyone good and freaked out. Although I'll let Max Pata maybe you find the story and then we'll play AOC's clip.
This article doesn't say she's Asian, but the headline is...
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, there are two. I know two stories of a similar thing. So this one is in Utah. A good Samaritan lets a homeless man shower in her apartment, and then he slit her throat.
Oh boy.
Well, this one's in New York.
Okay. That one. That was a company called Splice, and that was an Asian woman. She was followed back into her apartment, so she didn't willingly let him in, but he followed her back to her apartment and killed her.
Stabbed her 40 times. So people are a little freaked. Homeless guy with a million arrests, of course. But we just sort of arrest them and push them back out on the street. But anyway, AOC's got her own hot take on what's going on in the crime department. We'll play it.
The child tax credit just ran out on December 31st, and now people are stealing baby formula. But we don't want to have that discussion. We want to say these people are criminals, or we want to talk about people that are violent instead of environments of violence.
She's a fucking flat out dope.
Well, I don't understand.
I don't know. She runs stop. We want to know how people are violent. She wants to talk about a violent environment.
LA. Okay. Call it what you want.
All right. But nobody is, first off, I don't do that much shopping, but I don't think people are particularly worried about
Trader Joe's, man.
That's
Come
true.
on.
I did not see anyone stealing baby formula. I don't think the baby formula, I know this is a pitch he's always making. Like these moms, they cut off the tax credit for their kids and now they steal baby formula. At this point in our society, I would applaud anyone who stole bread.
Yeah, Jean Valjean.
Or baby formula. This is not what anyone is talking about or anyone cares about.
No.
This has nothing to do with anything.
I've not heard of this.
Right. But it's because you cut off the tax credit for the kid, the mom is forced to steal baby formula. And then, again, it's not the violent people, it's
violent environment.
The environment of violence. Well, one more time.
I think she's
Dawson.
reimagining the word violent.
Mm-hmm. All right.
The child tax credit just ran out on December 31st, and now people are stealing baby formula. But we don't want to have that discussion.
We don't need to have that discussion.
Say these people are criminals, or we want to talk about people that are violent instead of environments of violence.
Okay.
All right. Nobody knows what you're talking about. Again, 63 and fat. Everyone tells her to shut up. We don't know what she's talking about.
You know what? In a very let them eat cake way, you know what it sounds like when, people don't want to talk about the violence and stuff in like all of our communities? Well, the good news is that I'm safe.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. All right. John Bradley from everything now, but especially Game of Thrones.
Still my heart.
Well, he'll be zooming in from England right after this.
It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Just finished the 24-hour war. I don't know why I was waiting to pull the trigger on that for so long. It was an amazing movie. That's all I have to say.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Well, thanks for watching that, Doc. John Bradley has joined us. Moonfall, which is in theaters, and also Marry Me, which is out as well.
Also in theaters.
Also in theaters.
All the genres.
Two of the biggest movies in theaters right now. And, of course, you know him from Game of Thrones for all 8 seasons, I believe. Mm-hmm. Good to see you, John.
Great to see you, too. Thanks for speaking to me, guys.
You got Game of Thrones while you're still in acting school?
I auditioned for it while I was still in acting school, yeah. And then I'd been out for a couple of months, and then I started shooting it almost immediately. And yeah, strange old time. The fact that I went from that, and then the next time I wasn't in Game of Thrones was like a decade later. So it was my entire 20s. It was a strange experience, but
while every acting teacher in class is like, don't expect to be a big star right out of the gate. You'll probably never get a job.
Well, you do wonder sometimes. You do sort of wonder that have I missed out on something? You know what I mean? Have I missed out on a bit of real world experience that'll help me further down the line?
Overrated.
I feel like a baby chick. I still feel like a baby chick that has hatched a little bit early, and I'm not quite prepared for life in the way that a proper actor should be, shall we say? But touch wood, it's going okay so far.
How do you? How does one progress as an actor when you've got this steady, big time gig, let's just say, and you're young and you still have stuff to learn and develop and whatever? What is your sort of method or process for growing as an actor at this point?
Well, I think that you develop so slowly. It's almost like the sort of minute hand of a clock. You don't really feel yourself developing, but you look back on your old work and you find that you've developed without really realizing it. For example, when we look back on season 1 of Game of Thrones now, which was shot in 2010, we were kind of happy with it at the time. But now we look back on it 12 years later and we're a bit like, oh, I wouldn't have done that like that. And I wish we could do that again. And it's a bit of a shame for us that the first thing people see in Game of Thrones is season 1, where we weren't as good as we sort of became. We didn't know the characters that well. The characters weren't as developed as they became. So you don't really feel yourself developing. And it's like seeing a photograph of yourself from 10 years ago. You don't feel like you've aged. And then you see yourself 10 years ago and you're like, I've properly aged. And you don't realize it. It's so incremental. It
gives you a little bit of understanding and maybe a little bit of sympathy for a guy like George Lucas, who is maybe the one person in a generation who can go back to that early stuff and be like, oh, I want to change that. I want, like, everyone freaked out, all the fans, hated it, but it's like, well, saying what John's saying, you kind of understand it a little bit.
If you had the option, wouldn't you try?
Who has the option to do that?
Yeah, I mean that's why. Have you ever noticed that sort of when you see a movie, when you see sort of VFX and CGI in movies from like the mid 90s, I remember watching those movies at the time and thinking, "Whoa, how could it ever improve on this?" And then you look back on it now, and it looks so schlocky and it looks so bad. You can never believe that you really bought into it. So you don't know if that's you think that must have changed. There's no way that that's what I was seeing all those years ago. Everything moves so slowly. It's only with the benefit of hindsight that you can see how much things really move on.
Yeah, it's a very good example because when you're watching it at the time you're in it, then you get a little distance from it, like a class picture, and it becomes very clear. But it's also, you wonder, how much of your mind is at work versus your eyes? Because you saw it in 1997, and now that tidal wave that took over Manhattan looks fake as shit, but it was the exact same tidal wave that you saw in 1997, and you were all in. And speaking of that, Roland Emmerich, 2012, I just watched that the other day. I'm all in on his movies. Independence Day, all-time favorite. That was on the other day. Day After Tomorrow, watch the shit out of that. Midway, White House Down. Don't get me. I'm down with all the White Houses coming down. The Patriot. Movie. I am so in on all that guy's stuff. I get it. It may be not the 5-star cuisine, but it's certainly an In-N-Out burger and fries, and I'm high. That's the way I look at that stuff.
I think you absolutely know what you're going to get when you go and see one of Roland's movies. You're going to get amazing visual spectacle, and you're going to, fingers crossed, it's going to be a lot of fun. And I think that to go into a movie like that, expecting it to, change your life or change the world in general, the movies don't have to do that to be worthwhile. They can just be fun, and they can be just a really rip-roaring roller coaster, entertaining couple of hours, and hopefully that's what Moonfall is. And I don't think that anybody should complain about that, really, because it's entertainment is a vital part of life. I think there's nothing wrong with entertainment for entertainment's sake.
Yeah, I agree, and I guess there's two mindsets, and I'd be curious on everyone's opinion of this. Some people And maybe, and I don't know if it's based on your schedule, but I'll put this hypothetical out there. Some people go to a movie because they want to drill down deeper into the realities of life. It's a kind of Norma Ray, the plant is polluting the river and she's an attorney, is going to fight for the woman. I mostly get depressed watching those movies because I feel like it's competing with why I'm here, which is to not think about shit for 2 hours. Which is not to say there's not room for plenty of good movies that are, lower budget or not reality big action, whatever. But in general, because I'm so busy and I feel beaten down by reality, I want to go here and look at things that don't make sense for 2 hours. I don't know. What's everyone else's mindset on that?
I can tell you that I probably speak for what I would consider the vast majority of society right now, which is I used to love, Norma Ray, Aaron Brockovich, $1 Million Buyers Club, all these movies because that was kind of an escape and interesting. We've been living in this sideways universe, and now I want to just have fun.
Sideways.
I think my thing is if the actor had to lose 30 pounds to play the role, I'm not interested. If he had to get jacked to play the role, but to put on 30 pounds of muscle, now I'm in.
Or if Charlize Theron goes full Eileen Wuornos.
Or shaved head and one arm.
Right.
Back to your food analogy, I love sushi, but if I had it more than 2-3 days in a row, I'm dying for a cheeseburger, right? Doesn't mean one's better than the other. Me, I love great movies. I love the prestige movies, but goddamn, there's a place on my plate for a cheeseburger, and there's a place on my plate for those movies.
Agreed. John, what do you want out of a movie?
Well, I think if there's something that can be taken from a disaster movie like a Moonfall or a 2012 or any of these movies that show the destruction of the world, the deepest you can go is you come out of the movie theater having bought into this idea that the world's going to end for a couple of hours, and you get out and it isn't. Mm-hmm. And the world is still there like you always recognized it. And there's something about
for now.
It has the potential to give you a different sort of perspective on the real world, if you like, because you bought into the idea that a tidal wave could wipe your entire family out. The moon could just plop down on your head at any minute and squash you as flat as a card. But that's not happening. So it makes you count your blessings and makes you look at the real world slightly differently. And there's something of that to it. I think there's something about, we'll show you the worst case scenario and you'll come out of it with a greater appreciation of what you've already got and what you continue to have.
Any good J-Lo stories from Marry Me? Sarah Silverman I know well, so I'm not as interested in those stories. But J-Lo, I am.
Well, what I found about J-Lo was, and I found it when I've worked with other people who have got to the very sort of apex of their career, is you work with them and you meet them and you realize there's very little luck involved in any of that stuff. Because even after everything that she's achieved across music and across movies and fashion and everything that she does, she's still determined to make every single note that she sings and every single dance step and every single scene as good as it can possibly be. And, I find I'd probably, you'd be forgiven when you reach that level to sort of get a bit complacent and realize that you've achieved a level of success and maybe not try as hard as you should, but that's not the case with her at all. It's like it's her first movie. She's so determined to get it as good as possible. And I think when you have a leader like that, and she really did feel like the leader of our little team on that movie, makes everybody else raise their game. And you have to try and match her for effort. If you're not going to match her in terms of talent, you're going to have to try and match her in terms of effort. Hopefully she pulls everybody up behind her like that. Yeah, she was great. A long time ago now. We shot that movie 2.5 years ago, and I only saw it for the first time on Sunday, and I'd forgotten most of it. But I really, really enjoyed it, and just remembered just what an incredible leader she was for us.
So then, philosophically, you think some people dismiss that as, oh, well, she may be rich and powerful, but she's miserable because she's a perfectionist, or she's chasing something. And then But when I see her on vacation, she seems to be having a good time on that yacht.
She works hard, plays hard.
The Super Bowl seems to be enjoying the box.
I think it's a misnomer because, and I'm curious what your thought is or what your experience was of this, but I think people take their definition of work and they bring it to jobs that are regular jobs,
right,
like roofer or driving a truck or something.
Oh, sure.
And they go, oh, well, you'd be miserable if you just worked that much harder driving or drove that much longer on
That's an 18-hour day.
Or whatever it is. But if her thing is creativity and her passion is creativity, then her crazy intensity on the thing she's super passionate about doesn't mean like a roofer working a 14-hour day. Thoughts, John?
Yeah. I agree. It's a very strange thing, isn't it, that there are so many people in and entertainment, I think, is the sort of only industry that allows this kind of conversation to happen, where people think that the work should be reevaluated if they talk about how hard they worked or how difficult it was or how unhappy they were while they were making it. They think that gives a sort of an extra layer of worthiness to the final product. You know what I mean? It's a bit like if you put your car into a mechanic and you go in and you say, did you fix it? And he says, yes. And he says, oh, by the way, while I was fixing it, I had one hand tied behind my back. So it was really difficult. So I made it extra difficult for myself to do it. So can I get some extra money for that? You think, well, no, is it fixed? You know what I mean? Is it fixed or isn't it fixed? I think you should only ever judge anything by the final product and the final result. And there's no excuse, no matter what you're doing, to not have a certain degree of fun while you're doing it, and certainly try and make everybody on the set's working day as easy as possible. I just don't think that, I think that entertainment's the only industry where that sort of indulgence, where you think that it's we're doing a better job the unhappier we are while we're doing it, or the more we're struggling, or the more angst we're having, or you know what I mean, the more toxic the environment is, the better work we're doing. That doesn't fly in any other industry. And I just think there's never any excuse to not have a certain degree of fun while you're doing the job that you always wanted to do. I just don't get it sometimes.
Yeah, I think some of that happens with comedians, where you got to go, oh, that guy's miserable, he's haunted, he's haunted by his past, you know, he gets up on stage, he feels free, but he can't escape his demons, and somehow we think of him as more of an artist than a guy who's sort of jovial and happy all the time.
You're telling a truth in the face of tragedy.
Yeah, or like that comedian can't be all that funny. He seems to be enjoying his family.
Yeah, the jovial comedian gets dismissed.
Right.
But I'd say that the difference between those examples are if you get a comedian, if you get a really good comic, the point of them is that you think that you're seeing the real guy. You know what I mean? You think that he's bringing his life onto his or her life onto the stage, and they're giving it to you, and they're offering it to you. And you feel that you've got a connection with the real person when you're watching them. So you do actually want to know something about their life and about their private life, because you want to buy into it. You want to believe what they're telling you. But with an actor, you just don't want to see the mechanics of it. I don't want to know how long somebody was in an accent for, or how much research somebody did to do a part, because I just don't think that makes me want to reevaluate the final product in a different way. That's why I think, you want to know more about a comedian's life because they're presenting themselves, but with an actor, they're presenting somebody else. And so as less as you can know about them, the better, I think.
And the best example of that in the history of entertainment is Game of Thrones. I mean, my God, we are sucked into this mythical, magical world where there's no real John Bradley. I only know I know Sam. Well, I don't know John. You want to know the Khaleesi. It's like Emilia Clarke. She has brown hair. People lost their minds when they saw her out of a wig. Yeah. I can't think of a better example than Game of Thrones, where people go out of their way not to know because we want to buy into the myth and the magic and live in it.
Yeah, but I think with that show, that's such a specific example, because there were so many. I mean, people knew Peter Dinklage and they knew Sean Bean and Lena Headey from season 1, but so many of those key characters like Jon Snow, like Daenerys, like Robb Stark, they were played by actors who you'd never seen in anything before. So this was the first time you're seeing them. So you didn't know anything about them. This is the first time you're introduced to that actor. So I think that's why I think your first job is always the easiest job, because you can just present what you've got. And then it's in the following jobs that you have to keep reinventing yourself and keep showing something different. But if the first time you see Emilia Clarke, she's playing Daenerys, of course you're gonna buy into that. You're going to believe that's the real her. And it's, you know, the longer a career goes on, the more sort of colours you've used from your little actor's palette, and the more you have to start repeating yourself, because any actor's only got such a limited amount of tools to work with. But you're the first job you do, you're a blank canvas, and I think that's always the part that people believe in most, the part that they see you in first.
Yeah, it's funny. I have a friend who passed away semi-recently, or recently. His name is Oswaldo. I made a little movie and I put him in it. And you
should point out he's not an actor.
He's not an actor. He's a construction worker. And he speaks with a very thick Nicaraguan accent. And I screened the movie, and director Pete Berg was there. And Pete's kind of a friend of mine. And after the movie, he's like, "Where did you find that guy who played Oswaldo?"
So authentic.
He was amazing. And I was like, that is Oswaldo. That's who the guy is. Yeah. It's he can't act at all. Now, Peter would have been very disappointed if Oswaldo made another movie and he saw him being Oswaldo again. But that first movie was like, yes. Yeah, Fiddler on the Roof. He was like, that guy's amazing. And I was like, yeah, he's just...
the role he was born to play.
He just wandered onto set.
Ozzy, right? So it really made me think about that first time you get the pass, or at least you wow people. And what about you? What do you got? Stuff in the can, stuff coming out, stuff you're working on, thinking about writing, directing, other forms of the business?
I'm currently working on the new Benioff and Weiss TV show for Netflix. The Game of Thrones showrunners, they're doing a new series for Netflix called Three Body Problem, based on a series of Chinese sci-fi novels. That's big stuff and big ambitious stuff. It's their next project after Game of Thrones, and they've not gone easy on themselves. They've picked very, very dense source material. They've gone really, really ambitious again, and we're just about in the middle of shooting that now, and that'll be on God knows when, sometime next year probably, but that's taking up my day-to-day for the next few months at least. It's great to be working with those two guys again. I owe them my career, really. They took a huge chance on me, Game of Thrones season 1 12 years ago, and all they've got to do is whistle and I'll come running, and it's great to be back with the boys again. Absolutely.
Where are you guys shooting that?
We're in London. We're shooting around around London. Netflix seems to have taken over Shepperton Studios, which is a famous old studio out here that's been operating for 60, 70 years now, and yeah, it's really handy, and we've got a very diverse multinational cast that have come together to make this strange old show. But we just think that if David and Dan are able to pull it off, it'll be a game changer for TV once again. We hope.
So this is their first big effort since Game of Thrones?
Yeah, it's the first thing they've done. We wrapped Game of Thrones, the final Game of Thrones, 4 years ago, and this is their next thing. So there's a lot of pressure on them, but they've really not ducked the challenge with this. They could have gone into very, very safe territory and knocked something off that was right in their wheelhouse. But they've really challenged themselves and challenged us and picked a very, very dense and obscure source material. And I think that it's got the potential to be a huge hit. But you never know when you're filming something just what it's going to be like, or you never know. So many things have to be in place for something to be a success. But from what I've seen and what I've read and what I'm feeling, it's got the potential to be a pretty big deal. Fingers crossed.
What is the general story or genre?
It's heavy sort of science-based science science fiction. It's about it touches upon any number of things. It touches upon virtual reality. It touches upon alien invasion, extraterrestrial contact. As I say, the books are very impenetrable almost. I tried to read them before Christmas, and I did manage to get through them. But David and Dan have given the show a more sort of accessible touch and brought it into the real world, if you like. And yeah, lots of moving parts and lots of different worlds, and part of it makes Game of Thrones look like safe ground.
So is it the same scale as Game of Thrones from someone who was on the set for so many years?
It certainly feels like it. Yeah.
Wow.
From what it feels like, it feels just as epic, with just as much scope to it, if not more. And when you're dealing with TV of that size, there's no two better people for it to be in the hands of. I don't think they're working very, very hard on it, and I can't wait for people to see it.
You think it'll be coming out around when?
No idea. There's not been a date set for it yet. We're not going to finish shooting it until late summer, early fall this year. So probably not this year.
Well, we'll look forward to it.
Sorry, Adam.
Yeah. When it, what's the name of the book again? Sorry.
3-Body Problem.
It's called The 3-Body Problem.
And that'll be the name of the series, I guess.
I presume so. Yeah, I think so.
All right, let me hit the plugs here. Moonfall in theaters as we speak, and Marry Me in theaters as we speak as well. John, I hope you can come back and join us periodically as these projects come out and catch us up on what's going on in your world. John Bradley.
I'd love to talk to you again.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Marry Me streaming on Peacock.
Something for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
My God.
Chris, you want a spot here? Where are we at?
No.
Okay.
Hey, this thought bounced out of my head. Let me just say it before we finish. Talking about 90s special effects. You know what? I won't say it is as good. It's not state of the art, but time has been very kind to Jurassic Park.
I knew you were going to say that.
Jurassic Park effects, while not state of the art by today's standards, are still very excellent.
Yes, and we don't laugh at it. It's still a great movie.
What year was the first one? 92? 93?
Wow. Yeah, Schindler's List.
Oh, boy. Special effects.
All right. Stand-up comedian and practicing physician Priyanka Wali is going to join us in studio right after this.
And now, a totally innocuous word that sounds dirty when Mike Dawson says it.
Hard drive.
Ew. Let's get back to the Adam Carolla Show.
Priyanka Wali is here, hypochondriactor. I think I said that right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Name of the podcast, Sean Hayes hosts along, and celebrity guests discuss incredible medical stories, which has got me primed. So what are some of your favorite celebrity medical stories?
Name a body part. We probably got some.
Didn't you just do one on like eye shingles, or am I crazy?
Yeah,
I just heard that.
Conan had ocular shingles.
Wow.
Yeah, it was incredible. He's actually a really good
Feels
historian.
like a HIPAA violation.
I heard it on the show.
No, I know. We have this huge disclaimer at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is, definitely a HIPAA violation. But everyone's consenting to be on here. So we're not.
They can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah. It's actually really hard to find celebrities that want to talk about, the real issues. You know what I mean? But Conan was great.
Yeah, I mean, they would talk about their tennis elbow or blowing out a knee wakeboarding or something.
We have a lot of those, actually, yeah.
But the stuff that has to do with the scrotum and other parts,
we'll
maybe
get
not
a few
so
scrotums.
much.
No, we had someone talk about hemorrhoids from hell. So we'll go there. We'll go south for sure.
If they're willing.
Yeah, it has to. Come on, this post me too. We need consent. You got to consent.
Well, there's got to be a sweet spot, right? Like the balls or whatever. There's that sweet spot of fun, funny, whatever. Like tennis elbow to humble brag, brain tumor, way too serious.
We get it. Brian has a brain tumor.
But
I didn't bring it up.
What I love about doing the show is that we will get so many callers and people that'll be like, thank you so much for talking about whatever. it helped my kid, or I didn't realize, I thought I was the only one that had this problem.
Anal fissures.
Yeah. Yeah, you name it.
Well, if there's a name for it, and it's not your name, you're probably not the only fucking one, narcissist. That's what I would say to that person.
Know. But I think it's the human...
Only Lou Gehrig.
That's right.
It's the human condition to put yourself in that box and to forget that we're all one and the same, right?
Yeah. I mean, some of us are better. Let's face it. We're stand-ups. We're a little better than regular folks who drive forklifts. And you're double board certified.
Yeah.
I know you're into nutrition and you have a specialty in obesity. And I know you're down with the keto diet. That's all things that we've gotten very deep into around here as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of being like an obesity specialist, what does that really entail?
Yeah. So I want to just... Obesity is a medical term that encompasses obesity-related issues. So that includes a bunch of other things that has nothing to do with what someone looks like. So these are issues related to metabolic dysfunction. So your hormones are imbalanced. So this includes things like that you wouldn't think about, like polycystic ovarian syndrome, fatty liver, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol. Those are all can be obesity-related complications.
Is this a situation of all roads lead to Rome, where like it can come from your diet, it can come from your genetics, and come from like bad luck?
Yeah. So I talk a lot on the show and also in my own medical practice about insulin resistance. Insulin is a hormone secreted by the body. We all need insulin to live, but when our insulin levels get too high, it leads to all these medical problems like weight gain, specifically around the waist, cholesterol in your arteries, altered blood sugar levels. It's even associated with things like dementia. So insulin resistance is a huge kind of problem here, and it leads to a lot of the things that I've named.
And does one become insulin resistant through diet, or that's just...
So diet plays a big role in inducing insulin resistance. Like the standard American diet, aka the SAD diet, it will basically make metabolically healthy people insulin resistant because of the high amounts of sugars and carbohydrates in the standard American diet.
Yeah, I've lamented that we could have used this period to open up a conversation about diet and exercise and vitamin
D. This period
D.
meaning the whole pandemic?
Like we could have really used it to go, can we get into this subject a little more?
We could have done a lot of things differently.
Right, but we didn't because we're sort of fighting on two fronts. We have this weird body shaming thing going on. At the same time, other people are getting much deeper into the subject.
Yeah.
And it's just going to kind of cause a rift, I think we'd like to move people a little toward the middle.
Absolutely.
And, we're talking about kids going to bed with, they have food insecurities, except for they're obese, which is weird, so it seems like a time when a small segment is really educating themselves on this subject and really curious and really blazing a trail in one direction, and the other is just waiting in line at Taco Bell, and it's going to cause issues.
I mean, well, let's be honest, Adam. Like, the medical system is severely broken. We have a huge crisis on our hands, health inequities, access to care, the education. It's a huge problem. This is absolutely a broken system. So
there's a doctor here among us.
Who could solve this conundrum.
Sorry, I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer.
Well, I mean,
we welcome it.
I mean, we couldn't even get the fucking food pyramid worked out until like 10 minutes ago.
So true. Yeah.
So what is your, I always ask people that are into this, what's your regimen? What's your diet? It's always super boring. People have a salad for lunch.
A nice yogurt.
No,
but the keto sort of angle for you.
So I have two things going on for me personally. Number one, family history is significant for diabetes on both sides. So I follow a low carb diet just from a health preventive standpoint. But I also have life-threatening food allergies and specifically nut allergies. So I can't eat nuts, tree nuts. I'll die. I have an EpiPen with me at all times, and
can be hard for keto because almond butters and nut butters.
Yeah. I can have peanuts because peanuts are actually legumes. And then I have a bunch of food insensitivities, like I sensitive to garlic and sesame and corn and wheat. So going to a restaurant is like a nightmare for me. Like I'm the worst restaurant person. I'm not like embarrassed anymore, but I carry a little card that has my allergies on it, and I'm that person. I go to a restaurant, I say, here are my allergies. Like,
tell me what I can eat.
Yeah, basically, like, I'd like to order this dish. Can you please tell the chef to eliminate these things? And the waiters or waitresses are like, oh my God, we love this. Thank you for this. Can we keep this?
The card, right?
But ever since I've gone low carb and then figured out my food allergies, now that works for me. That works for me. I think that's the really important thing. I don't think there's like one diet for the world. I think you have to personalize it and individualize it to the human being.
The low carb thing, from what I've observed around here and personally, seems to be the best sort of, speaking of universal, the most sort of, I've been around longer than you guys. There was the Miami diet, and then there was the grapefruit. There was a phase where if all you did was have half a grapefruit every day, somehow the pounds would melt away. There's all
because you're starving
and
yourself
the food.
to death.
And I grew up with my mom saying, "You have a big bowl of pasta. Don't have a steak." That's
it's bad for your heart.
Here's the thing, though. People don't realize that low carb diets have actually been around for close to 100 years, even before the invention of insulin. So before insulin was invented, they would use low carb diets to manage the blood sugar levels of people with type 1 diabetes because they didn't have any other options, and they found that it tended to normalize or help the blood sugars a little bit better. Insulin was then invented, and then things changed, and big pharma and all that. But low carb diets, or the ketogenic diet, or a low carb, high fat diet, it's been around for a while. It's not like a recent fad thing. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely, I think we've all experienced it to be really effective in a world of multivitamins where you get on one for a month and someone goes, "How do you feel?" You go, "I think I feel better, but I don't know." The keto, you get results.
Yes.
You'll see it pretty fast.
Yeah, no, I mean, at least in my own private practice, I can say it is a medical therapeutic tool that I use to help people get off meds or to put certain diagnoses into remission. It's a very powerful tool, for sure.
What percentage of people do you think would stay on insulin or need to be on insulin if they just embraced a sort of disciplined diet?
This is a really great question. In order for me to effectively and accurately answer that question, it would depend on the demographic that you're dealing with. So, I've treated people with type 1 diabetes who are on insulin and put them on low carb diets. They by definition, having type 1, you need insulin to live. Mm-hmm. But their requirements for insulin go down. So they're injecting themselves with a lot less insulin. I've had patients with type 2 diabetes on insulin, put them on a low carb diet, and gotten them successfully off insulin. And we're talking about not low doses of insulin, 20, 30, 40 units, pretty high doses. So I can't answer that question accurately because it sort of depends on the demographic that you're dealing with.
You kind of did.
And here's the other thing, though. A lot of people don't realize if someone is engaging in a behavior that they know harms them, like if you know you have carbohydrate intolerance defined by either diabetes, prediabetes, or type 1 diabetes, if you know carbohydrates worsen your health and you continue to engage in eating that, knowing the harm of that, that falls in the sort of addiction spectrum. And I think there's a lot of people walking around out there who are addicted to carbohydrates and sugars and they want to stop, but they can't. And then you have to then go into like, well, what's feeding the addiction, right? And so that's a whole other algorithm.
Well, and that's fair because we've talked about, and I think it's just widely accepted that there are multi-billion-dollar companies that put all of their money into getting you addicted to food.
Yeah.
So it's not like something that we're crazy when we talk about.
No. And I say this all the time on the podcast that, sugar acts on the same receptors of the brain as drugs of abuse like heroin and cocaine. The brain can't differentiate it. So it's a highly addictive substance. It also happens to be completely legal.
Well, it's called booger sugar for a reason.
Is that what
people.
I've never heard booger sugar?
That's
Wow.
cocaine.
First off, Squaresville.
Yeah,
my
yeah.
God.
L7.
Well,
so
let's
funny.
shift to stand-up because
Yeah.
I know that's a big part of your life as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Or at least it was before COVID. COVID really took the fun out of stand-up, I'll tell you that.
Traveling, doing shows, or
But before
What
COVID,
aspect of it?
I was definitely traveling a lot. I was doing some college gigs and performing all over. And yeah, no, I really took it for granted, you know? And then COVID happened and it all just stopped. It all just stopped. And now, like, I've done gigs. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It's weird. It's just like kind of weird.
weird in that you stopped for a long time and now it's weird, or weird that the energy is different?
The energy is totally different. Right?
Really?
I mean,
Well-
pre-COVID, none of the audience members were ever wearing masks. And so now you go to a show, some might be wearing masks, some might not, but like you can't see their face, right? So it's like I'm literally not getting the feedback that I need to be able to perform, right?
Yeah,
So,
I don't get that immediate look of disgust that I used to get from that live audience.
Yeah.
Actually helps you.
Ladies
Sort of a
Yeah.
sneer,
sitting up
sort
front.
of,
Yeah.
Yeah, I still see the head shaking.
Yeah.
And I
Eyes
still, I
rolling.
can tell when they're texting, but I
Yeah.
can't see the sneer.
Yeah, that disdain.
The
so
disdain on there, the disappointment,
Yeah.
quite honestly.
yeah, no.
Well, if you go around, like I've been around, you
Yeah.
know, Florida, Texas, Nashville, or whatever, they don't wear masks, and
No, I
they're
know.
just there.
No, and it's my experience as the artist that I'm just sort of highly uncomfortable. Like there's a certain level of anxiety now that I experience while performing that just wasn't there pre-COVID. So it's become I experience it as challenging. But you talk to other comedians, it's like business as usual. Nothing has changed. But that is not my experience. And yeah.
Is this LA audiences you're mostly
I do
speaking of?
a lot up in the Bay Area as
Oh,
well.
that's right.
Yeah, Bay Area.
Or,
yeah,
or
which is-
more so.
Not
Yeah.
much better.
Right. Yeah. you got to get out to like Wisconsin and stuff.
Yeah,
They're
that's
just
true. That's true.
Totally.
I was in Oklahoma just a month and a half
Oh,
ago.
that counts.
Oh, yeah.
No, I was in Oklahoma. That actually was an awesome show. It was like 120 doctors and they like really needed to laugh. So they like it got crazy. Yeah, it got crazy. But I felt super comfortable because I was like, oh, they're all doctors. Like,
Is that
like-
is this a corporate gig?
yeah,
is
this was
your
this,
crowd?
No.
It's a ringer show.
Ringer?
Bring 100
No.
doctors.
No, I've definitely bombed in front of, like, I once did a gig at Kaiser Physicians up in the Bay, and like they were so tight.
Really?
Yeah, I think it was just like maybe their boss was there and they just weren't comfortable. But this was in Oklahoma, and these were frontline workers, and they didn't give a fuck. Like they needed to laugh, they needed to de-stress, and yeah, they were amazing. Yeah.
Are a lot of your gigs for the people in the medical field?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I went through like years of doing like shitty bar shows. You
For
know,
doctors?
Ambulance drivers?
No, just
EMTs.
like imagine, you know, like where you start doing stand up, you know. I developed asthma because of stand up because I was getting exposed to so much secondhand smoke. Yeah, no, I did that.
Yeah, I don't think you don't seem old enough to have. Didn't they ban smoking
Yeah.
in those bars
No, but the
before you
people
were
smoke
old enough?
outside. So,
Oh.
like, no,
Doing
they,
street performing?
No. So, like, you don't, you know, depending on the gig, like, you stand outside and talk to your fellow performers and shoot the shit, right? And they're, you know, majority are smoking and stuff. So to answer your question, no, I've performed, and then I did college gigs and stuff,
Yeah.
and you know, all
I
that
just,
stuff.
I just thought that's a pretty awesome niche market.
Oh,
if you're,
yeah.
If you're doing
I don't
those
know.
gigs for those people.
Performing for doctors is so hit and miss. Doctors can be so uptight.
But at least you speak their language.
Yeah, you would think.
Right.
You would think. I don't know. It can be hit or miss. But Oklahoma doctors are dope. Yeah, for sure.
I'm not a doctor, but I am a carpenter. I think I'd like to perform for carpenters. I don't know if they could afford it.
Or understand it.
It's a $32 ticket.
That's true.
I think I could throw in a little jargon for them.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
But I
for
feel
$32, I don't think so. No.
Do you curtail your act? Like if you know that audience is
for
doctors.
sure. For sure.
Guy no, more like guy yes.
Yeah, I do really well with I do really well with like
ear, nose, and throat?
no, like I was gonna say actually Indian moms.
Again, very specific.
Yes.
Yeah, no, Indian moms, man. Especially like Indian stay-at-home moms. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Really?
Like yeah, I can't even like they
love you.
Is that a big comedy going crowd though?
It's just like they love me.
But it's got
They
it's got
love
stay
me.
at home right in the title.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's going to hurt the draw, the gate. You know what I mean? You don't want stay at home. On the other hand, you don't want nomadic.
True.
You want a sometimes leaves
Yeah.
home.
Yeah.
When
For a
I'm in the
special
mood to
occasion.
laugh.
Yeah.
Well, I've been thinking about, and you're Indian, right?
Yeah, Kashmiri.
I was thinking about Indians. I was thinking about this. They're just kind of kicking ass lately. Like
That does come up on the show.
the Indian women are beautiful. They seem to be super successful in our society. I'm trying to figure out. I've been here my whole life. This didn't exist several years ago. I feel like Indians are on a roll.
Yeah.
Like I what I'm saying is if you're betting on a race like a stock, probably take some money out of the Puerto Rican portfolio and put it into the Indian one.
Okay,
That's
It's
all
a normal
I'm saying.
conversation for us to be having.
Yeah,
You wanna
I'm
be
just
overweight
not
on-
going to be commenting on this
It's a
at all.
stock. That's all.
It's a compliment.
You want to be overweight on India.
Yeah, I
Right.
feel like something's going on. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain. Say Indian stay-at-home moms are really into you.
Yeah, no, I'm also really into them as well. So yeah, it's a mutually beneficial thing. Yeah, no, interesting demo. Like some Indian dads are not feeling my energy. Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
I don't know. I think it's maybe I threaten the patriarchy. I don't know. It's like
More patriarchy going on with them versus the blue-eyed devil?
There's I think there's definitely. I mean, patriarchy is everywhere, right? I mean,
But
let's
some
be honest.
classic tropes.
I feel
maybe.
like white guys are kind of falling behind.
Yeah,
I really do.
I think
They're falling
Losing our
off.
I
grip
think
on
that
the
would be
patriarchy.
correct.
Yeah, we've kind of lost
No,
it.
it's
But I feel
Dark
like in
days.
other cultures, maybe it's a little more ensconced.
no. I mean, you look at the history of the imperialization of India. I mean, there were a lot of kind of indigenous practices that were influenced by British imperialism. Certain views towards gender, for example. That's all. Patriarchy as a concept is basically taking something that's free flowing and learning how to put it in a box, capitalize, extract. That's the energy of patriarchy.
Yeah,
Like-
I'm just listening.
yeah.
I don't know.
I like it.
I'm just saying. I
so-
feel like I don't know if England had the market cornered on that several years ago, I just feel like they've lost a lot of their grip
Well-
on that. I mean, look at all the princes are pee-whipped, and
true.
hate to use that word, but I just feel like I feel like the guy, for good or for bad, I think the England who used to spread that stuff around is losing it more than other cultures.
Right, but the question is, why was there even something to lose? Like there should have never been something to take from. That's the whole issue.
Yeah, I agree, but
yeah.
that's how history is. Like there
Right,
should have never been slavery, and there should have never
course,
been
yeah.
Japanese American internment camps, and there should have never been this war or that war. There should have never
Colonialism.
been,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there was. So my feeling is who's getting rid of it. That should be the plan.
And this is a story that continues to be written.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Like I said, I just feel like I'm trying to think of my friends, and I'm trying to think of their patriarchy. I just feel like they're not flourishing in the patriarchal.
So you're talking
form.
about essentially, and allow me to stereotype, Jews in the entertainment industry?
I'm saying, like, most of the guys I know who are married, their wives are somewhat more in charge in a weird way than they are. I feel like there's less of that in their home.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
I think no one benefits from the patriarchy except a very small percentage of people, right? But when you oppress another entity, you're oppressing a part of your own self. So by hurting others, you're hurting your own self. So nobody benefits from it.
Or a small group.
Or a very small group. But even, I mean, I can't speak because I'm not in that small group, but I can't imagine you'd be happy.
It's kind of like, when you put it that way, it almost makes me think that patriarchy is like a pyramid scheme.
Yeah, it is.
You got to get the people underneath you, and only the one at the top.
It's a giant Ponzi scheme.
Right.
Yeah. But like, if we're all fundamentally connected, so how is that one person at the top then actually happy? They're like fundamentally disconnected from the entire world. And
yeah, I don't think. First off,
this conversation has really taken a turn.
I didn't bring it up, but oppressing people is kind of a calorie burner.
Yeah.
I don't get it, and I don't think it makes you happy.
Stencil that on a pillow, Sham.
Oh my gosh!
I've not met a lot of happy oppressors.
No.
And I hang out with them on a daily basis.
Oh, do you?
Oh, yeah, at the meeting. But I've not met a lot of them. So all right, let's get back to you and stand-up. And we'll get away from the patriarchy.
Oh, man.
When gigs lined up, plans, travel?
Oh, so any gigs lined up right now? Not in the foreseeable future. I mean, I'm working on a couple of different projects. I'm working on a one-person show about my experiences in medical training. And so most of my attention is going on this one-person show right now.
But we don't have a comedic angle?
Well, it's a storytelling show. So I personally don't qualify storytelling as stand-up comedy. I think it's like... That's like a whole big debate, right?
Yeah,
like
that comes up as well.
So I don't consider this to be stand up. I just want to be super clear about that.
Well, that's part of the matriarchy because I call it stand up.
Do you call storytelling stand up?
Not really.
No, it's not stand up. No.
Well, look, they're comedians that tell stories, and so I'll count that as stand up.
This is for sure not stand up. This is a storytelling show, and it's rather like. It's not stand up. That's very clear.
Where is that?
It's in San Francisco.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So it's about my experiences as in medical training and how fucked up it was basically.
What was fucked up about it?
It's a system that in order to succeed in medical training, it's in your best incentive to take your feelings and to bottle them up because that will allow you to succeed. So I talk about in the story how I got severely depressed in med school and, was really not in a good place. And the people I trained with and, different kind of situations I was in. And it's all true. It's all true. Yeah.
What do you think would be a good way to fix that?
I think we have to bring humanity back into medicine. I think we have to first treat our residents and medical students with more humanity. Things like better conditions for medical students or residents who work hours and hours and are paid per hour literally less than minimum wage. I think we need to have better food in the hospitals so we can feed our doctors better.
That's a really interesting insight because I've experienced a lot of hospital food, let's just say, and it's a below average quality.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the biggest emotions that I experienced as a resident was hunger. I just felt I was hungry. There was like not enough food.
Or not enough decent food.
Not enough decent food.
And the idea
which therefore is not enough food.
Yeah.
Well, and isn't the residents work like a comical amount of hours in a row? Like that's heroic.
80 hours a week.
Yeah. That's not
healthy.
That's not healthy for them, and that certainly can't put you in a good state to diagnose somebody else.
No, absolutely.
I mean, get it.
It took a lawsuit. So there's now a law that says residents can't work more than 30 hours continuously in a hospital. And before that, the only reason they put that legislation in was because there was a case in New York where a patient died, and they kind of did sort of the root cause analysis, and a physician was directly responsible for this patient's death. And then they asked the physician, well, what happened? Why, and this person's response was, I was just tired. I hadn't slept.
They have it for truck drivers. They don't have it for doctors.
I mean, yeah. So I think that is the first step. Like, we have to treat our healers better so that we can do a better job healing. And a lot of people don't know, and I talk about this on the show, that physicians as a profession have the highest rate of suicide compared to any other profession.
Really?
And the highest in that category is actually, ironically, psychiatry.
Wow.
So it's like, if we're not taking care of our own healers, how the hell are we going to heal others? Like, how can we be there for people if our own systems won't be there for us?
Well, I was thinking about when you were talking about hospital food, ironically being so horrible. I was thinking earlier about school food and how horrible that is, and then what that kind of does for kids, or what kind of weird message that sends. Pizza day and fish stick day and all that shit, and it's all institutional sort of slop. And then what are we saying to them, and what are we simultaneously trying to tell them about nutrition while we're doing pizza day? All right. Shall we? Yes, Brian.
A real quick anecdote. This won't take more than a few seconds, but I saw my oncologist a few days before, right before we left for our live shows, like December 21st, right? Okay. Just check in, and I'm like, hey, how's it going? And he's like, tough day. I'm like, oh, naively, I'm like, oh, and then he's like, well, you don't like giving people bad news for the holidays. And there's just kind of that moment of clarity, like, oh yeah, your day is probably 50% giving people bad news. And that, how much does that weigh on a person?
Oh, totally. Yeah. No.
Sorry, I wanted to relate that because it was on the
point.
topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back and do the news right after this.
The family of the late cinematographer Helena Hutchins has sued Alec Baldwin and the other producers of the film Rust. And Adam, you may have some insight on this, but I'll just give you the basics first.
I'm going to talk about it with Mark Garagos in like 40 minutes or something.
Okay, I didn't know if you had talked to him already. Yeah, I'm going to show it to you actually on mute while I tell you the story. Hutchins was fatally shot on the set of the movie Rust in October. Her husband, Matthew Hutchins, their son, Andros, filed wrongful death lawsuit. Go ahead and play it.
Let me, hold on a second. Let me just ask you this, everybody. Has nothing to do with shooting someone.
Okay.
I got a legitimate Valentine's Day card from Mark Garagos and his family.
Yes.
Is that a real thing?
I didn't get one.
Oh.
I don't really care.
I mean, Chris, you got to remind me to bring this up with Mark when he comes in here. But
it's very nice.
It's wonderful. It's his kids and his daughter and her husband and his son.
Oh,
and
like
his
a Christmas card.
Wife.
Yeah.
It's a Christmas card for Valentine's Day.
I didn't know people did that.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
Now, it's 100% his wife.
Right.
100%.
Right.
But he still had to put on a suit and pose.
Right.
Were they in Valentine's gear,
No.
or was it a picture that probably
They
existed?
just were dressed to the nines. And maybe you're right. It may have been from the wedding.
I think my guess, because I did this with my cards, you really want a nice return on those wedding pictures.
That's true.
You know,
you got the
That's
pictures.
a really good point.
So I think, maybe we'll get one for Arbor Day because they're next to a tree. Yeah, maybe. I think I'd like to see more of these photos, and I think we can probably foresee that.
I opened it and I thought it was a goof originally.
I thought it was an invitation.
Oh, wow, that's really
I
interesting.
come from a family that doesn't do a lot of that stuff.
Yeah,
so I thought it's
sure.
like, who are you sending? Why are you sending me a Valentine's Day card? But then I realized
sweet.
I think his wife may have been very earnest. When she did that.
Matriarchy, am I right, ladies?
I mean,
That's right.
the Greeks had more than 9 different words for love. And I think we in our society, when we think love, we only think of that kind of capitalist, romantic, patriarchal love, right? But there's actually so many. There's filial love, there's eros, the erotic love, there's agape, which is the sympathy love, compassion love. So, it must have been agape for you.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
We're going to find out. They had 9 words.
But so, I love seeing your experience, because you're like, what is this? But it was, this is kind of like a friendship type love, which, let's be honest, that's awesome.
Yeah, I know. Listen, my interpretation, by the way, I have half a word for love. I don't even have a whole love.
Low. It's just low.
Like Fonzie saying he's wrong. I was wrong.
Yeah. Totally.
No, my first thought is, I know Mark well. We bust each other's chops a lot. So my first reaction is, oh, this is a goof. And then my next one is my reaction is I had a entertainment lawyer once. I still do. His name's Andy. And I remember he said to me once, oh, I can't do this, whatever, in 2 weeks. I'm going on a cruise with my mom. And I went, oh, you're so fucked. And he went, I like my mom. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Come on. It's going to be the worst 4 days of your life, right? He's like, no, I planned it. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. Let's cruising with your mom. Hey, guys, listen to this. Because I'm picturing taking a cruise with my mom, and I'm laughing at it. So I'm picturing me sending a Valentine's Day card to Mark Garagos. But then I realize, oh, it's Ernest. And then I realize his wife, who's on top of it, is the engine behind all this. And then I get jealous. I'm like, they got their shit together, don't they? Because we couldn't pull that one off.
Okay. As a family.
We're out. No. The Christmas cards go out in March. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, here they are.
Yeah.
Paulette Garagos got her shit together. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Maybe she's just rubbing my nose in it. She's got her shit together.
A wise man once said all roads lead to narcissism.
I don't know. Is she just saying, look how great we are?
This must mean something to me. This is a referendum on me.
This is an attack.
Jealousy is such a wonderful, when we experience jealousy, it's a signal that there is some unprocessed sort of
I got
emotion.
10 words for jealousy, baby. 10.
Yeah, so what a wonderful opportunity for healing.
Well, I might get down to 4.5 by the next time we see each other, but I'm going to ask Mark. I guarantee what Mark's going to do. He's going to go, I didn't even know what was going on. I just paid for it. Yeah.
I just paid for it.
It was really nice cardstock. My God.
Nice.
It's like the expensive kind.
Oh,
yes.
Like, I'm sure that cost extra. That wasn't a one stamper.
Yeah, that's
cool.
Beautiful.
Paulette
Brian, you would have
Garagos
loved it.
is the person. I'll bring it if you want to see it. I don't want you touching it, but I'll definitely hold it up.
If I can look at it from, let's agree.
Well, yeah, but I want to be in the room.
Right.
Of course.
I want you to take it home or anything.
Well, we have cameras in here.
That's true.
Yeah, she's the woman who walks through my neighborhood and picks up garbage on the street just because she's that person.
Oh, that's... Oh, wow.
I love it.
Yeah. Do you love it?
I love
so
it.
That doesn't trigger your jealousy that this person is so well-rounded that they are able to make the world a better place.
Well, she didn't know I was watching, so she wasn't rubbing it in my face like she did with the card.
I see.
And then sending it to Gina, knowing Gina would rub it in my face as well, and countless others, except for Brian.
Totally.
Right. Yeah. All right, sorry, the video tape.
Yes, that hopefully you get around to talking to Garagos about. We'll see.
We are. Yeah.
But
so the family made this video?
Yes, so the attorneys, attorneys have released this 3D...
So Jeff Bridges was in a church?
That's funny. 3D animated reconstruction of Alec Baldwin's shooting, which is what you're... But now, remember, this is what... From their perspective.
Yeah, totally.
This isn't just the truth. This is the truth as they have heard it and have, sort of put it together.
All right.
Wow.
So he's sitting down, pulls out the gun.
And
shoots.
It looks like video game characters. It's pretty realistic.
Yeah,
but
this is super triggering.
And by the way,
warning.
But no pun intended. By the way, we're playing it on mute. It has music, and it is
music.
Very.
What kind of music? Do you
put
play
it up
with
if you have it.
Oh my God, this is terrifying.
This is Hans Zimmer for Interstellar.
Yeah. This happens
So they're
when
talking
she
about the primer, the removed primer, and
Live
a typical dummy
Oh
round.
my God.
The bullet
Slow
is
motion?
flying.
I would think they would think it's to their advantage to make it as absolutely upsetting as possible. Emotional.
Done
wow.
and done.
Yeah. So, according to the suit, Baldwin and other producers failed to perform industry standard safety checks and follow basic gun safety rules while using real guns to produce the movie with fatal consequences.
Jeez.
The lawsuit was obtained by NPR. It says Baldwin, quote, pointed a gun at Hutchins during the rehearsal. The gun, which had a live round, went off, fatally wounding her and injuring the film's director. Baldwin has said he didn't know the gun had live ammunition. He didn't mean for it to go off, but this video is pretty
This is a lot.
visceral.
Yeah. No, the music.
I wonder
and
if this
everything.
is admissible.
Well, now that we've all seen it, I don't know.
It's an interesting thing because it's just what is now because you've seen it.
Right.
Oof.
And
Yeah.
now
You have
if you're
to find a jury that hasn't seen it?
Yeah. Well, what it is you find a jury that says, I've seen it, but it's not going to weigh in at all
Right.
to my decision
Right.
making.
How could you, how could you actually not have something like that weigh in on your decision making?
That's
Well,
what they're
that's-
hoping, I think.
That's why the attorneys go, and what about the email saying you were going to kill your wife? And then they go, objection. And then they go, sustained. And then the judge goes, forget about hearing any of that email talk.
That is the most nonsense when they do that.
Right.
I don't get that. Pretend you didn't hear that. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah, I mean,
Oh, on a Garrigus follow-up thing, when we were trying to figure out the Sarah Palin case with the defamation and the New York
letting the jury
Times,
keep
and the jury went out, and then the judge dropped the case while the jury was
Yes.
deliberating. The good thing about Mark is I had never have any idea what his answers are going to be, and sometimes I say to him, well, that seems really weird, and then he goes, oh, it happens all the time. It's happened to me twice today or something. He went, I've never heard of that. I've never heard of a judge dropping it once they send the jury out. I've worked with this judge. He's a little off. And that's about all I want to say about the guy because he gets into trouble sometimes for talking about people in cases
The
and
judge?
stuff.
Oh, wow.
But he said, weird. I'm not like, well, what would the motivation then be? Once he's like, I don't know. I've never heard of this.
but the
It's
judge
never happened.
said his reasoning was, I assume you'll want, I mean, at least from the article I read, I assume you'll want to
retrial.
appeal or whatever.
appeal, yeah.
So, like, for some reason, this has to play out in order for that to happen?
He said the judge didn't like the case in the first place, and then they brought it to the Court of Appeals, and then they overruled it, and they made him do it. And I don't know what it was,
Weird.
but to hear, he said it never happens. It's never happened to him. He's never heard of it,
Wow.
and it seems bizarre to him. That's his thing.
I love that.
This I'll ask him about.
I mean, it's
too.
also weird that he's calling this judge weird. I mean, like, aren't judges not supposed to be weird? Isn't that like the whole point of being a judge?
You got to go to some of Mark's parties. You will meet some weird judges. It's like, I guess they're like cops or dentists, where you go, Mark will go, I've been in front of that guy. He's not. And then I've been in front of that guy. He's great.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
some of it
people.
is, some of them are delivering news Mark doesn't want to hear, I
Right,
guess,
right.
but he gets a sense.
Well, I wasn't going to bring this up as the second story, but let's talk about it because it's basically about Mrs. Garrigus. There's a new fitness trend that I've been meaning to bring up, and this is the perfect time to do it. It's called plogging. And it doesn't involve gym membership, and it doesn't involve your traditional stuff. Plogging is a play on words with a Swedish word. It's jogging while picking up trash along the way. It is a specific fitness trend, and the reason why—
Like lunges.
Right, yes. And the reason why is in Sweden, they do this and plocka up, pick up, plocka up, so it's plogging. And you do get this interval training because you're bending, you're stretching, you're squatting, and you're repeating it over and over again. So not only it makes your neighbors like you better and you're more affable, but it's, according to Harvard Health Publishing, performing 20 minutes of interval training like this 3 times a week is a huge enhancement to your cardio as opposed to just walking or jogging by the trash.
I mean, I don't know.
The doctor
You don't like
says
it?
don't
You don't like it?
exercise.
I mean, like, my view on exercise is like, look, if it's enjoyable, if you're getting joy out of it, just do it. Any kind of, I'm like pro movement. I mean, trash picking up in combination. I mean, if that's your thing, sure. You know?
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, my neighborhood, maybe because of Mark Garagos' wife, Paulette, doesn't have enough trash to get a full workout.
True.
Yeah.
You'd have to find
My
just the
neighborhood would be all right.
neighborhood, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and you can go in behind me by the freeway in this
Right,
neighborhood and do some
exactly.
powerlifting
Right.
because they got
Yeah.
sofas out
Yeah.
there and big rolls of carpet. Like you could really, it's like the Highland Games.
Yeah.
You run, you put a sectional on your back,
Some CrossFit
you
shit.
grab a busted toilet, you do the dead hammer throw with it, try to clear the freeway fence with it, like a
That'd
whole
be pretty cool.
urban Highland Games. I would
I
watch
like that.
Yeah.
All right, something to think about.
I don't know that there's enough trash for me to get that.
On
that
your
workout.
street, I agree. Mine, I'd be an Iron Man.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
please.
But it's all, see, the weird thing is it's all kind of yucky trash because the
It's
cans
icky.
or the aluminum cans are recycled
Yeah.
and those have gotten to before you would
True.
get to them, right?
Oh my God! Yesterday there was this like kind of young hipster couple, this like guy and girl who were in like full jogging clothes, but like kind of like tattered hipster clothes, with one of those like pokey sticks. And picking up trash in front of our street. And my first thing I said was, "Oh my God, Andy, look at that! How cool is that?" He's like, "The dude doesn't want to be there. This wasn't his choice." So this is
The
happening.
matriarchy
Yeah,
rearing
maybe.
its ugly head
Maybe.
again. He didn't want to be there.
According to my very progressive husband.
Well, can we do this like, you know, I'm always obsessed on what we do with all the time kids spend in school. It's usually a thought about finances, like nobody knows anything about finances or interest earning accounts or getting ripped off by credit cards or there's no
Or Tinder swindlers.
Oh,
as
yeah.
well.
there's no literacy going
No,
on.
they bring credit card companies and give you free shit to sign up.
Yeah,
Could
that's
we
so true.
just work on a generation of non-litterers? Like
be
just
awesome.
go, well, fucking put your hand in a bench vise if you throw any shit out the window. Like just knock it the fuck off. Just like show them films about kids that litter the day Johnny got the shit beat out of him by Ed Begley Jr. You know what I mean? Like just fucking coach them up. Like you're the worst person. Just a whole group, a whole generation of just non-litterers.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
that
Like
would be
just
amazing.
there's no such thing as fast food on every corner, junk coming in from China, Amazon, complete throwaway world. Your TV's no good, just chuck it out, your car door, whatever. And a group of people who are willing to engage in that. I wanted to litter when I was a kid. I didn't have anything to throw away. All I had was my dignity. I mean, we didn't have enough fast food. We didn't have enough styrofoam containers. We didn't have enough takeout. We didn't have enough like junk from China that broke and somebody goes, it costs more to fix it. You know, get rid of it. There wasn't enough. We get a cigar box, you'd hang on to it. You like write your name on it and decorate it.
Every
you know?
receptacle had to be reused.
Right. Everything that had a lid got kept. Now everything is throwaway, and we got a bunch of crazed narcissists who are like, I'm driving my car and I'm done with this.
I'm done with it.
Burger King. Out the window it goes. Like, we just like drill down on that.
That'd be great.
It'd be fucking awesome.
Well, aren't there like massive fines if you're caught littering, like on the freeway and stuff? I thought those were like hundreds of dollars, like worse than the carpool lane fine.
Yeah.
Or is that
No,
not
I
true?
think those signs exist, but like, who do you catch?
aren't there in countries like Singapore, you'll like go to jail if you
get caned.
Yeah.
caned. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm
We
not saying
don't-
we should cane people, but maybe we should at least make a higher penalty or something. Like,
I hear what you're saying.
I agree with not caning people, but I think we need to say we're gonna cane people.
I like it.
Threat of
nice,
caning.
nice threat.
Yeah, listen, here's how on top of it this city is. All roads leading to one of Mark's parties. I was at Mark's party. I've been to Mark's house many times. It's like, you got...
Adam, every time you go over to his house, it's not a party.
It's true, but we turn it into one, man. He's diverse. He's got judges. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When I kid them that I'm a former prosecutor, they all believe me.
Sure.
Because that's the group he runs with. He'd have right-wing civil rights attorney Harmeet Dillon, of aforementioned knitter, and Adam Schiff on the over here.
I like it.
He's got a lot of range over there. And I was talking to like district selectmen of Glendale or Burbank. All the people underneath and above. And I said, and I've told you guys this, but I said, there's big piles of trash everywhere. People dump the sofas, they dump the construction material, they dump everything because they don't want to pay to go to the dump because it's $90 to go to the dump. There's no large item pickup. The city won't, unless they don't have an address. They live in an apartment, they're doing construction work on the side. They don't want to pay the money to go to the dump, so they go to the street at midnight on Sunday. They just dump everything in the street, and that's where you get the toilets and the sofas. And then you guys don't pick it up. There's a picture of it now, and then every once in a while they clean it up, and then a new pile of shit shows up. And I just said to the guy, "Look, man, I'll tell you where this is coming from. This is from poor people that are like doing construction and who don't want to pay. So go to the Home Depot over here, a block down, put a couple guys out there, have them hand out vouchers. You can go to the dump for free, and I'll give you a 6-pack of Tecate or something. You just give them a voucher. Let them know. Put the word out that don't dump it in the street. You can dump it for free at the municipal dump yard, and it's not going to cost you money." And he was like, "It's a good idea. Like, go to the Home Depot and hand out the flyers." And I was like, "Yeah, because these people are heading in, they're buying a bunch of materials, they're then going out, they're going to demo out the old bathroom, and then they're going to dump it in whatever alley or behind me." And then
and now we have the program.
Guy came back about an hour later and he goes, "What's that voucher idea you're telling me?" Oh my God. And I was like, "Oh boy, we can't solve anything here." He liked it.
Forget it.
It was done
Yeah.
by the time the party was over.
Well, let's move on to Prince Andrew, who has reportedly reached a tentative settlement with his sexual abuse accuser, Virginia Giuffre. She's the woman who claims when she was 17 years old, she was raped by Prince Andrew at least 3 times, including on a private island owned by, now dead pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew has denied the claim and insists he has no memory of ever meeting her, even though we've all seen the pictures. You can just Google them. The settlement, according to the document, states that the British royal intends to make a substantial donation to Ms. Giuffre's charity in support of victims' rights. But it continues, Prince Andrew has never intended to abuse, never intended to abuse, and as a result, her unfair public attacks were basically, he's sorry. Both parties have agreed to the principal terms of the settlement, have asked the judge to dismiss the case. So I guess that's behind him. I don't know if he's even still a royal anymore because of this.
I don't think you kind of wonder, like, can that construct of the royal family survive modern information?
I mean, first of all, why are there still royals?
Thank you.
Like, why is this even a thing?
Thank you.
I'm with you. Get rid of the patriarchy. Though there's a chick at the top.
The oligarchy.
But yeah, I'm down with it. I get it.
It doesn't. Yeah, like, come on. Yeah,
feels a lot dated.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think that they're clearly not thriving in a modern world.
But the general public gives so much attention to the royal family, like they're part of feeding the machine, right? Like if the royal family were canceled, I don't even know like if that would be possible because there's millions and millions of people that are just so genuinely obsessed.
But they're getting the kind of attention they don't want. This isn't like good publicity for them.
But, if they weren't quote unquote royals, like they would have been canceled long ago.
Yeah.
It's just, so our system is feeding this.
I wonder if it seems like the fans of the royals die off every day as the new generation who doesn't care about the royals comes up. So they're kind of fighting that.
Yeah.
But now here's a philosophical question about the royals and the obsession with the royals. I'll tease it.
Okay.
I got to hit a spot here. First, I'll tell you about Simply Safe. Today's episode brought to you by Simply Safe Home Security. Ever want to know what's happening when you're not at home? Well, new wireless outdoor camera from Simply Safe lets you see what's happening outside right from your phone. I'll tell you, man. You can you put it in the backyard, and I can see what's going on there from my phone right now. Maybe Phil's taking a swim in the pool. That's a dog. Everything to keep your home safe. Entry and motion sensors, indoor and outdoor cameras, 24/7 professional monitoring, ready to dispatch police, firefighters, or EMTs. Less than $1 a day, no long-term contracts or commitments. Sets up in around 30 minutes. Customize your home's perfect system in a few minutes at simplysafe.com/Adam. That is simplysafe.com/am. Get your free indoor security camera plus 20% off interactive monitoring when you go to simplysafe.com/am. All right, here's the hypothetical. I'm basing this loosely on how much we like good-looking people. And I suspect one of the reasons we like really good-looking people is because we realize it's sort of luck of the draw. Like we do a thing where we go, oh, look at her, look at him. They're born that way. They eat whatever they want. They look whatever. But it's a part of us where you go kind of touched by God, you know, and you go, man, on a human level, like look at that person. Look what they look like, you know, and it's deeper. And then there's the short, fat guy who's a wildly successful guy. And we go, yeah, that's cute. But look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that guy. Because that's defying the odds,
right.
you know? And I wonder if we're obsessed with the royals because of almost the same reason. Like the guy married the princess. The princess just worked at a store and then he sought her out and look at, you know, she won the lottery. You know, this weird kind of they won the lottery thing. We know they don't do anything. Like no one is really jealous of abilities or skills. We're kind of like, look who, you know.
Look what you were born into.
Well, they're the people that are born into poverty, who's the alcoholic dad. It didn't have, we go, poor bastard, never stood a chance. And then we go, look at that.
Yeah.
Born into that. And then bigger than born into that is selected
plucked out of the chorus.
To be in that. We go, look. And then the real obsession starts with the person that was plucked out.
Yeah.
Is that what's going on a humanistic level?
But like, do you see this is all part of the illusion of what the patriarchy is, that we are taught to believe that this is what beauty and success looks like. It's really the white patriarchal narrative. And then you get these outsiders who fall out of that. It shifts the paradigm that like, oh, well, there's this is the standard and everything else is less than. And so that's why we obsess about these outsiders coming in, because it bends the paradigm. But the whole point is, back to your point, it's a Ponzi scheme. It's all an illusion.
Yeah, but we're all in on illusions as a society.
And I think this is part of the work that we have to do right now as human beings to demystify this illusion.
Well, we're not that good at doing work.
That's true.
That's
I mean, the human mind is, that's
but
true.
But the question still stands. Is it because of the randomness of it that we have this crazy reaction to it? Because it's not based on accomplishments.
No,
they don't do anything.
But to both of your points, I mean, think of the classic Disney movies, or the retelling of these stories. Yeah. You want to be plucked out and saved by the prince. Right. And only now in like the last couple years, like the Disney model is changing like 10 minutes ago. So to both of your points, yes, you're right.
And to your point, that model is capitalizing off of our insecurities and vulnerabilities, because
for sure.
We all have insecurities. That's part of the definition of being a human being. We have shadow within us. And this system basically convinces us that our shadows are part of the problem. And if we could just attain this, then we will be perfect. Everything will be a happily ever after ending. And
all right, Ryan, I'm going to turn to you for an actual answer to whatever I said. I'm a pretty straightforward question.
I'm about to disappoint you greatly, because I was about to say the same thing Gina was, which is think about but I think it supports your point though, which is we react to that pluck from obscurity, and that's exactly what Cinderella is.
That was my point.
That's exactly what Sleeping
I feel
Beauty
like this conversation is an M.C. Escher painting right now, where we're just going up the stairs and down the stairs and up the stairs and down the
First
stairs.
time here on the show?
That's what we do. That's why we have beautiful quads.
No, I think the point that Gina and I are making bolsters your point, which is, since time immemorial, at least in this country, we've responded to
the savior.
The pluck from. It's no different than winning the lottery. You know, Sleeping Beauty just fell asleep.
What I'm saying is we have more of a reaction like, we love LeBron James, but we get that he works really hard at what he does, and we may not be able to want to work that hard at it. And he also has gifts. That's part of it. But there's a straight line. Like, we see what that guy does. And we feel that way about other Elon Musk or something. We don't have an obsession.
Right.
The obsession is the lottery.
Right.
Part of the whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah, and although, like you said, you can love the royal family, we're obsessed. We were obsessed with Kate Middleton, and then we were hyper obsessed with Meghan Markle. So, yes.
Now you're speaking. All right, let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Princess Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.
All right, we are going to be in Spokane, Washington, and all the shows for Tacoma and Spokane are sold out, except for the late show on tonight. Right, the late show tonight, as you hear this. Still has a couple of tickets left, but I think that one's going to go. You can go to amcarolla.com for all the live stuff. John Bradley, what do we got? The Moonfall, Marry Me, and all that. Priyanka, let's see. Hypochondriactor. Yeah, with Sean Hayes, and that's available wherever you find finer
on
podcasts.
All the things, yeah.
So, until next time, this is Adam for John and Priyanka and Bald and Gina saying mahalo. I've been here my whole life. This didn't exist several years ago. I feel like Indians are on a roll. Like, what I'm saying is if you're betting on a race like a stock, probably take some money out of the Puerto Rican portfolio and put it into the Indian one.
Okay,
That's
this
all.
is a normal
I'm saying.
conversation for us to be having.